Then comes the question number 3 for that category. Describe the caching or response caching strategy in ASP.NET Core. So ASP.NET Core basically provide two type of caching. One is response caching and the second is distributed caching. So response caching, first I will explain that. So response caching leverage HTTP headers like cache control to store the static content. So it would be stored in memory, I would say. So in that application, within that application, things if we wanted to store them like the images or if we can access data in the browser, the server memory that we can use, but it is not recommended for huge data. But the one of the type is response caching mechanism, and the second one is distributed caching. So distributed caching, as the name suggested, it stores the data in a different location in different networks. So once this question will be asked, then definitely you must know that the difference between response caching and a distribution caching. So response caching stores the data within the memory, but it is not recommended for huge data. Distributed caching, it stores the data across the network, servers, or the other nodes. It stores the data, and on demand wait, it retrieve the data and then displays over there. So these are the two type of caching available in .NET Core. Next is differentiate between in-memory and undistributed caching in ASP.NET Core. The same question, but I have elaborated in the different way. So in-memory caching, as I said, in response caching. So this is the caching which we maintain in the RAM, in the memory. This allows for much faster access than the disk-based storage because rewrite operation to or from the RAM is quicker. I mean, the things which we needed so quickly, we need to store them in the RAM. But for example, if you're storing too much data in the RAM, then definitely the performance would be hit. So it is for the frequent data like LOVs data, or where the smaller things are needed for that data, we need to use the in-memory caching. So in-memory caching often serves as a temporary storage. So this is not the permanent storage. The permanent storage is something else. We can store the data in other ways, in other like databases or other storage we can do it. But as far as the memory is concerned, we need to have some temporary data. The best example is Reddish caching. That is a best example for in-memory caching. Distributed caching, as I said in the other question, that it is a data across the multiple servers or nodes. The why multiple server or node is utilized here, because for example one of the servers goes down and few, for example two servers are synced together, and the data is distributed or stored in both the servers. So once one server will go down, the other server will get the result and will show there. So that is the reason we are using the distributed caching and storing the data on different nodes. So this type of caching scale well, since adding the more nodes increase the total available storage space. As I said to you, it also provides the redundancies. If a node fails, the caching system can retrieve the data from the other node, as explained. So the best example is memcached is a common use distributing cache. So two type of caching: in memory and distributed. In memory, store in the memory, example is Reddish. Distributed caching, store on the different server and node, and the example is memcache. Then comes the explain the cross-site request forgery and how to prevent it in the ASP.NET Core application. So if you already work in the application .NET Core application, you know there is a anti-forgery token. So these are some some mechanism I have provided to avoid that forgery token. So anti-forgery token can be used. A unique token is a request block the unauthorized action. So in MVC, specifically in MVC application, we provide in our view so that there should not be unauthorized access to our view. So anti-forgery tokens are used there. Double submit cookies, flagged in cookies ensure intent form submission. So we need to provide the cookies with our request that can have so many other information, like from which server it is coming, it is authorized or not. These type of things we can use with the double submit cookies. But same site attribute can be used, that are we getting it from the same site or not. So for that, what we have to do is we restrict cookies scope to mitigate the XSRF risk, that is also a security risk. So to avoid that, we can use the same site attribute. HTTP methods put delete required user interaction, or preventing the link trigger attack. So that can also be done in without human interaction. These actions cannot be automatically be performed. Validate user information. So always sanitize to prevent the data manipulation. So user input should be validated. So these are the things in which, after using them, we can prevent the anti-forgery for our application. The next question is, describe the strategy for your application to cross-site scripting attack, how to avoid that. So validate and sanitize all the user input. As I said, there should not be anything garbage in, garbage out. So it should be sanitized or validated. Escape HTML in output to prevent this script. There should not be plain HTML in our output, so that there should not be any injections. Use the content security policies to restrict the executable content. So that policy should be implemented, that there should not be any executable content that after executing we can have attack. Or there should be anti-XSS libraries and framework. These are the security libraries available from Microsoft that we need to implement. Otherwise, definitely that can be attacked for on our application. So regularly update dependencies and performance securities audit should be there. We should on regular basis need to know that all the libraries are updated, and is there anything comes in our security audit that we need to fix. So these are the things which we need to do to avoid the cross-site scripting attack. Then explain how to enable the cross origin request in the ASP.NET Core application. So there might be cases in which we have to have our application to be accessed by the other domain. So other domain mean cross domain, it is known as. So it is a security. We cannot allow it ultimately automatically, sorry. So for that, what we have to do is, in those cases, we need to install Microsoft Codes NuGet package, and then we need to register the middleware over there, that we are allowing the codes, and define the policies. And we can define the methods, or we can whitelist the API of IPs, or these type of things can be done, that for these IPs we are allowing it, or these method can be accessed outside our domain, or use the attribute on the controller to apply the globally. Or we can also apply on the controller level, that these controllers are allowed for codes, other are not. Optionally, set the expose response header for the client access. So these are the mitigations which can do for the cross application request. Explain how the dependency injections is implemented for the controller in the ASP.NET Core MVC. Already explained. What we have to do is we have to inject the dependencies, whatever dependencies are needed, that we can inject. The container manage the creation and lifetime of these dependencies, injected them into the controller when needed. So we can inject, and that injection can have all those dependencies would be available once those are injected. So this keeps the controller loosely coupled. Dependency injection, definitely we are not directly linking to any of the services, we are decoupling it. So definitely is testable and easily adaptable to these changes. If we make them the tightly coupled, they cannot be done easily. Changes can be adopted. So simply put, controller or tell the container what they need, and the container provides automatically. So that is what we need to do if we wanted to inject the dependencies. Okay, I think it would be second last or last question. Okay, let me see. Okay, how does ASP.NET Core support dependency injection for views? So in controller, we can directly inject the dependencies, but if we wanted to do on view level, then what we have to do is we have to use the directive @inject. So that will be used for in the views, but it is not recommended that the highly dependencies are being directly passed to the view. So few of the dependencies can be passed, but this is the way how we can inject that. At the rate inject should be there. This approach help keep controller focus on the logic and view focus on the presentation, and prompting the separation of the concern that can be done. But it is not recommended that the view should have the complex dependencies should be injected directly injected to the view, but it is how we can inject in the view. Then comes describe the approach to unit testing the controllers in ASP.NET Core MVC application. MVC application directly provide the unit testing mechanism. So we can have all those tests available, but definitely testing it does not involve any database scripting or these type of things. So what we have to do is we need to create the mocking external services. Those services will provide the data whatever controller endpoint, for example, needed that data. The data would be provided automatically once we create the unit test, and once we execute the unit test, it will execute all those business logics without database interaction. Directly it will be injected, or all the things will be available which are needed to execute that particular endpoint. So the test follows the arrange act asset pattern, set up the mock dependencies, involve the controller action, mean set up mock dependency, whatever it did it will provide to that, and verify the expected result and generate. The approach ensures the controller logic work as intent, or we just need to have that how the test cases are being executed and how we can configure it. So once the question would be there, you can tell that the MVC provide the by default unit testing mechanism, and mock external services are need to be injected, and arrange at act assets pattern is being used for that, where that pattern provide all the dependencies to the testing test cases. What is the cache tag helping in the ASP.NET Core MVC and its purpose? So in some of the cases, we have to use annotation or a helper for caching. So that is also a provision for example, for particular action we need to cache that. For particular reserve views, we need to do that. So in order to that, what we can do is we can have the helper over there. So what it do is it improve the performance by caching frequently access content, reduce the server workload, mean frequently used things can be cached, boost scalability, server caching content faster to handle the high traffic, definitely simplify the caching. So declaration approach with the razor views, avoiding complex caching code. So we can also define caching in the razor view as well. Then the fine grained control, configure the duration. We can set the duration of 30 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever we wanted. After that, the cache would be refreshed. And vary the factors, and cache validation can also be done. So integration seamlessly work with the existing application core caching infrastructure. We can use only the helper over there, and that helper can work with configuration, duration, or whatever factor we wanted to use that. Explain how the validation work in the ASP.NET Core application and how it follows the DRY principle. So the validation is used in ASP.NET application using the annotation. For example, we are creating a model and we providing the annotation that it is a required field. And for example, we are putting the length of some of the field, it should be 10 characters only, or it should be length of 10, or email should be like this, or it should be integer. So this is what the dry principle is there. So that annotation is being used in .NET Core, and that is follow the dry principle concept. So that is what we are using in .NET Core, and .NET Core annotation is following the dry principle. So all these type of annotation we provide in the model, and once the model get the data, it validate against that, and if it is not in the same required mean annotation, then it will give a user friendly message whatever we wanted to give them. 13th question, describe the strongly typed views and their benefit in the ASP.NET Core. We can have a strongly typed views as well. Those views directly connected with the model, and once the model will be changed, the views would also be changed. So those are known as strongly typed. So the benefits are compile time very type checking, improve the tolling support, reduce the runtime errors because they are directly being tightly coupled, or cleaner and more readable code is there, or improve the maintainability. The question can be how to use and what is the benefits. So these are the benefits for the strongly typed views. Explain the partial views and their use case in the ASP.NET Core application. So partial view similar to the views, but they don't have any header. I would say they are the partial views. They can be injected anywhere, or they do not have to have any I would say scripting over there, or these type of things should not be there, like JavaScript or these type of things, because they are partially being used. They are used within the view. So the core concept is the same as that of user controls we were using previously in web forms, for example. So user controls were there, the piece of code separately built but can be used in any page. So in the same manner, partial view doing the same thing. They are used or stored separately as a shared location and can be accessible anywhere or can be called anywhere. So what is the use? Navigation menu, they can be a partial view. Product list, they can be a partial view because we can use the product list in so many other pages. So wherever the reusability is needed, we can use the partial view. And the comment section can be used. Model and pop-ups can be used. And form sections, some of the sections which are being used across the application, they can also be a partial view. So that's all, guys. So I have covered all the 50 questions. So please go through two videos, which one video that I completed now, and the previous video with the part one. So all those 50 questions are covered. If you go through them, if you follow them, definitely you will be succeeded in your exam, in your interview. So thank you so much. Bye bye.